Welcome everyone. I'm Alicia. My pronouns are she and her. Hey Angela. Thank you Joanne. Angela. Hi Marcia. And I'm joining you on the native lands of the Tunaha, the Spokane, and the Shushumpsh tribes, now known as Spokane, Washington. You're welcome to let me know how you're feeling in the chat or where you're practicing from. And we will also be seated and standing today. So I have a sturdy chair on a non-skid surface. I also have a couple of blankets and a firm throw pillow. So in that context, let me know if there's anything specific that you would like to cover. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get set up in the chair, but feel free to add into the chat as we go along or if anything comes up that you'd like to let me know about. So we want to first start off with our feet being flat on the floor. If that's more of a challenge for you, maybe your legs are on the shorter side, you could take a folded blanket and place it under the feet to raise the floor up to you more. My legs are on the longer side, so oftentimes I sit up on a folded blanket. And I'm also playing with how I fold my blanket, how it tips my pelvis forward or not. I'm having some issues with my low back, and so I'm kind of playing with what feels most comfortable for me. So go ahead and do that for yourself. Let's take the skin out and back from each hip. That might help you feel your sitting bones more fully in the chair. And then I'm sitting towards the front of my chair, and that may or may not work for you. Another option could be to take that firm throw pillow, tuck it in between your back and the back of the chair, fill up some of that space and add some extra support. Or maybe you choose to scoot all the way back in the chair and use the full support of the backrest. And this may change from day to day with what you need, so try to honor however you're feeling today. And then let's feel our feet in our seat, feel the sitting bones in the chair. From there, let's let the spine lengthen up comfortably tall. We can roll the shoulders forward, up towards the ears, and then let the shoulders soften back and down. And I've also been playing with a very light tuck of the chin towards the throat. You could also think of it as having something light like a washcloth on your head, and you're just gently lifting up into that washcloth. That might help you find some extra length in your spine or your neck, and it may also help bring your head more back over your shoulders. Sometimes we have a habit of jutting our chin forward when we feel like we're in a hurry. So from this basic overall alignment, what kind of other adjustments would you like to make for yourself? I also forgot to mention the ankles and feet are roughly under the knees or slightly in front, and you can allow your knees to relax a comfortable distance apart. And if you haven't practiced with me before, I like to remind you this is completely your practice. So think of anything that I'm going to offer as invitations, and then tune into your own bodily wisdom and your own inner teacher, and let those be your primary guides for our time together. So from here, I will invite the bell in a moment. That will drop us into the centering portion of our practice. Then we'll transition to some gentle seated warm-up movements, eventually making our way to standing for some standing and balancing postures. And then we'll return to the chair for a little bit of breath work and our integration and relaxation time. So you're welcome to soften your gaze down. You could rest your gaze on a point on the floor a few feet in front of you if that's most comfortable. Or you might choose to close the eyes down completely. And I'll invite the bell to drop us in. So as we're getting settled into our own spaces, let's take a moment to acknowledge that the tradition of yoga originated thousands of years ago in ancient India. And when I was thinking today about what we could focus on for our intention, I was noticing this morning that I feel kind of tired. It's morning here where I'm at. Kind of tired and low energy. So I thought maybe we could simply focus on honoring wherever we're at in this moment. That's something that's good for every yoga practice. That's a nice way to keep things simple and just coming back to noticing what you're feeling and honoring those feelings and going from there. So let's start to feel the sensations of the feet on the floor. You could wiggle the toes if that helps you to feel into the feet. You could also have the hands on the thighs and hinge forward slightly at the hips, adding some gentle pressure down through the thighs and knees, through the lower legs and into the feet and the floor. And noticing the qualities of grounding that you can tap into through the feet and the legs. Feeling the firmness and solidity of the floor. And noticing if you pick up on any differences in temperature or texture through the feet. And you can hinge back up if you are trying that pressure down. Notice how when you come back up, that might change the sensations through the feet. And also notice what it's like to have your bum in the chair. Maybe you shift the weight slightly from side to side, forward and back. Notice what it's like to have your weight rolling across the sitting bones. Are there changes in pressure? You might notice texture there. And these are just some ideas of things that you might notice because I'm going from what I'm noticing for myself, but you might be noticing something completely different. And that's what it's all about. It's what you're noticing. These are just some jumping off points. So you can let go of thinking there's any right or wrong way to be feeling. It's all about whatever's true for you. And again, coming back to honoring what's true for you. And as you broaden your awareness out into other areas of the body, now that we've kind of checked in with our base and our grounding sensations, notice if there are any areas of discomfort. And I guess I'm not saying to look for that, but sometimes those are the areas that speak to us the loudest. So if that's the case for you, you can offer some gentle touch or massage to that area if you like. simply acknowledging those areas. If you can make some sort of movement to alleviate that discomfort or pain, you might like to do that. But we probably all know what it's like to have areas of discomfort that aren't easily alleviated. So we're going to have to work with those sensations and acknowledging and accepting them possibly for a certain duration of time. So what might it be like to acknowledge and temporarily accept those sensations without that added stress of trying to push them away on top of it? Every once in a while, there's a softening that can come from that level of acceptance for now. Like, this is the way it is right now. Again, relates back to honoring wherever you're at. And then let's start to tune into the breath as well. It might help to take a hand to the belly and or a hand to the belly and chest. And start to feel beneath the palms of the hands how your body is moving with the natural breath. So see if you can let go of trying to change the breath in an intentional way and come at it more from a settling back, an observing perspective, a witnessing whatever's already happening with your breath. And starting to let any of the judgment fall away as well. Can you observe the breath without being judgmental about it? And this is simply whatever's happening right now. There's no right or wrong. You might notice that the inhale tends to be more of an expansion quality. You might notice a gentle lift of the chest and lengthening of the spine. And then the exhale tends to be more of a softening, a settling. And are there any thoughts or emotions that are arising for you in this moment? Can you greet them with some kindness and compassion without the need to push any of them away or to try to hang on to pleasant thoughts or sensations? Think of it as all neutral information. And once you're feeling ready, you can open the eyes if they were closed or lift the gaze and visually reorient to the space around you. You can take a look around. If there's a window nearby, you can look far away or close in. And as you're feeling ready for some intuitive movement, go ahead and let the body start to move in whatever way seems interesting in this moment. You've had a few minutes of some more quiet in the body and potentially the mind. So what kind of movements feel like they would come naturally right now? So staying curious and in that nature of being exploratory. If you're new to doing this, maybe this seems kind of odd. That's okay. Settle into that and accept that oddness feeling. And then just go ahead and try something. And see how it feels. And then that might lead you on to something else. So if we were all in the same room together, everybody would probably be doing something very different. Embrace wherever you're at. And whenever you're feeling complete with those movements, let's go ahead and reset back at center. So finding your base again, your feet flat on the floor, feeling your bum in the chair, letting your spine lengthen up comfortably tall with soft shoulders. And then let's make some circles with the torso. And then we can also, if it feels right for you, we can start to link up the breath and the movement. You might try inhaling as you come back and exhaling as you come forward. That's what seems most natural to me, because when I come forward, that's when the belly gets compressed more. So that feels more natural for me to be the exhale. But something might be different for you, so follow that. And if you are linking the breath and the movement together, see if you can let your breath be the guide. So whatever natural pace of your breath, then you could match the pace of your movement to that and bring the two together. Next time you come through center, let's reverse it and go the opposite direction. And what differences, if any, do you notice side to side? You might feel the weight shifting from one hip and one foot to the other. Or some length in your spine as you're coming forward. Is your pace any different from one direction to the other? And whenever you're feeling even both ways, coming on back to center again. Let's, on an inhale, re-lengthen our spine and soften our shoulders. Imagine that washcloth you're gently lifting up into. And then on your next exhale, let's tuck the chin first towards the throat, and then rolling the chin any amount more towards the chest. Next inhale, let's roll one ear towards the shoulder. And exhale, rolling the chin back towards the chest. And inhale, opposite ear towards the shoulder. From here, settle into your own rhythm, and the option to let your natural breath be the guide. Matching the pace of your movement to whatever the natural pace of your breath is. But always knowing that if that doesn't feel right, linking the two together, just let that go. Follow what feels best for you. Next time you have an ear towards the shoulder, option to slowly lift and lower the chin. Really take your time here. Notice how that movement might change the sensations on the top side of the neck. Next exhale, let's roll the chin back towards the chest. And inhale, opposite ear towards the shoulder. An option to lift and lower the chin slowly on this side as well. You might inhale as you're lifting the chin, exhale as you're lowering. So it's kind of like a slow nodding, but with your head tilted towards the side. Let's take it once more to each side. And slowly coming back through center, rolling back up. Let's let the hands hang, or the arms hang at the sides, palms facing in. And then let's, on an inhale, lift the shoulders slowly up towards the ears, scrunching them up. And then exhale, really taking your time, going slow, lowering them back down. And really letting them be completely limp and heavy at the bottom. Inhale to lift. Exhale, slowly lower. Let's do 3 more of these at your own pace. And after the last one, let's let the arms hang heavy. Give them a shake out. Let's make gentle fists and roll the wrists one direction, other direction. Let's open and close the fists, stretching the fingers wide, wiggling the fingers in whatever way feels good or interesting. And then let's do a few finger flicks and change the height and the direction. You can even bring in a little bit of twisting if you'd like with your finger flicks. Your gaze can follow around, getting some more movement into the eyes, into the head and neck. Flicking off some water, or maybe something that you don't need any more of right now. If it feels good, let's sigh out a couple of exhales. Let that go, shake it out. And let's take a pause here, check in, notice how you're feeling. Tune into the grounding sensations through your base again. So feel your feet on the floor, feel your bum in the chair. Notice your breath. And notice any thoughts or emotions. So let's go ahead and we'll make our way to standing, but I thought before we completely come to standing, to stay there for a little bit, we could practice a few getting up and down from the chair. So if that feels kind of unsteady for you, you can always take your chair near a wall and have a wall on one side to aid with balance. You can also stagger your feet, one front and one back. You could take your legs wider. Find what works best for you to keep you most stable. And then let's hinge forward, press down through the feet, and raise up. Make sure you know where your chair is at and that it's on something it won't slide away from you. And then slowly lower back down. You can switch which foot is in front if you'd like. Let's do this a few more times. Coming to standing, knowing where your chair is at, and slowly lowering back down. I think for me today, I actually like the wide leg a little bit better. I'm able to control coming back down easier for myself. But you might need something very different. Let's do one more. And then let's let this be our last one and stay standing. So you can move anything out of your way. If you were sitting on a blanket, let's set that off to the side for now. Set your pillow off to the side if you were using it. And we'll eventually have the back of our chair facing us, but let's do a few things first before we come back to the chair. It's kind of nice sometimes to start with this monkey drum twist when we come to standing. So when you're doing this, your outside leg, let that foot, the heel come off the ground so that you can allow that outside knee and foot and ankle to all track in the same direction. Let the arms be loose. And let the breath keep moving and flowing. Sometimes we'll hold our breath if we're trying too hard or something feels new. Let's loosen the lips with a horsey breath. To do that, you inhale through the nose, and then on the exhale, you let your lips be loose and let the exhale come out through floppy lips. Really letting your face go. And then let's slow down the twist, gradually coming back to center. And then let's find our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So I like to start with my feet about hip bone distance apart. The outside of your flesh of your hips is here, but your hip bones are in, coming The femur's coming out of the pelvis area. So start there, see how the inside of the thighs are feeling. If they're feeling too compressed, take the feet a tiny bit wider and then reassess so that you're feeling like the inside of your thighs aren't too compressed. If you stand like this and you have wider thighs like mine, you're gonna feel like you might topple over. You might also feel some pinching in the low back. So taking the feet a comfortable distance apart helps to alleviate some of those things. And the feet are roughly parallel. Let's rock forward and back on the feet. Shift the weight side to side. And then lift the toes. And with the toes lifted, feel the ball of the foot under the big toe, like the big toe mound, the ball of the foot. Ball of the pinky toe, center of the heel with the toes lifted. Kind of feel that triangle of support under each foot. And find your balance there. Keep your knees soft and then lower your toes back down. Check in with your low back and your bum. If there's some tightness there, see if you can let some of it go. We're still softly lengthening the spine. Let's roll the shoulders forward up towards the ears, and then let the shoulders soften back and down. So your palms might be facing in towards your thighs. They could be rotating the arms so your palms are facing forward. Or you could try gentle fists on the hips, letting the shoulders soften into that. So check in and notice how you're feeling. We've changed our orientation with gravity somewhat, and we have a new base. Now it's just the feet. So can you still feel that grounding down through the feet now, but without the groundedness through the bum being in the chair? So notice how certain things are similar and then others are different. We also did a little bit more energizing movement where we were twisting while standing. Has that shifted anything in the way you're feeling? And there's no right or wrong answer to that. Maybe your answer is no, it didn't shift anything. Coming back to honoring wherever we're at and what we're noticing for ourselves. Has anything changed with the breath? And has anything shifted with thoughts and emotions? And when you're standing like this, it's fine if you're wavering. If you feel like this balancing is a challenge, again, maybe you take your stance towards the wall, so you can have the wall on one side, you could have a hand on the wall. You can also focus your eyes on some sort of point on the floor a few feet in front of you, something that isn't moving, and you can lightly rest your gaze there. And if you are feeling steady, you can play with closing your eyes, and you can notice how that changes the challenge. And then let's take our Tadasana, our mountain pose, towards the towards the back of the chair, standing a couple of feet behind. Find your stance that you liked, where you feel balanced on your feet. And then with the next inhale, let's bring the arms up, making space for your shoulders, so taking your arms as wide as you need to be the most comfortable. And then on the exhale, let's bring the arms down to the hips And then hinge forward from the hips. And release the hands to the back of the chair. So when I'm saying hinge forward with the hips, rather than just hunching your spine down, see if you can let the movement come from the hips by keeping the spine long and somewhat neutral, and then hinging forward. And then we can walk the feet back and start to lengthen through the arms. And then you can keep coming down as you have space. And if you need to make more space for your belly, you can widen your legs a bit more. And then let your belly start to settle towards the inner thighs. So we're trying to get a long line from the hips all the way out through the fingertips. And maybe even add a little bit of extra attention in those directions. So you're feeling it stretch out through the hips one way, out through the fingertips the other way. Getting some additional length in the spine. Let's step slightly, kind of just inching your feet a little bit at a time towards the left. So you can start to feel some additional length in the left side of the body. So we're kind of curving the spine a little bit now in a slight C shape. So you might feel some additional stretch through the left armpit, and arm, and left side of the torso. Let's slowly inch the feet back through center and towards the right. Now lengthening through the right side of the body, keeping the knees soft or maybe even more bent than just soft knees. All depends on how you're feeling in the backs of your legs. It's okay to have the knees really bent. Keep the breath flowing. Let's slowly walk it back through center. One more full breath here. And then take your time. Hinge back up enough that you can make room to walk towards the seat of the chair. And then let's send the weight into the heels so that you can soften the knees, press down through the feet, release the hands, and then you can lengthen the legs to press up. Arms can come up. You can even bring in a tiny back bend here if that feels okay for you. And let's exhale the palms through heart center. Let's pause here in our Tadasana in whatever arm position you like, or maybe you want to change it from what you had before. Check in, notice how you're feeling. Feel down through your base again, so grounding the body. And then on the next inhale, let's inhale the arms up again. Really lengthening up through the spine, but keeping the shoulders soft at the same time. And you can tip back for a tiny back bend if you choose. And then on the exhale, let's bring the hands to the hips and hinge forward, releasing the hands to the back of the chair. Let's take a large step back with the left foot. So coming onto the ball of the left foot and then bending into the right knee. See where your right knee is landing. We're shooting for roughly over the right ankle. If your knee is jutting way forward of that right foot and ankle, that might be your cue that you could take your stance wider front to back and then re-bend into the right knee. Let's inhale as we lengthen the right leg, working it towards straight, still with a soft knee. And exhale, bend back into the knee. Inhale to straighten. Exhale to bend. Let's do 3 more of those at your own pace. After that third one, let's have that right knee bent, and then take as many steps as you need to bring the left foot in to meet the right. Send the weight back into the heels again. Soft bend in the knees, press through the feet so you can release your hands and come up. And exhale the palms through heart center. Let's go again and try the other side. So let's inhale the arms up, little back bend if you choose as you're lengthening the spine. Exhale, hands to the hips and hinging forward from the hips, releasing the hands to the seat of the chair. Then this time we'll take a large step back with the right foot, coming onto the ball of the right foot and bending into the left knee. Checking to see where your left knee is at. You can adjust your stance wider front to back if you find that left knee is jutting way out past the left ankle and foot. Let's inhale to lengthen the left leg. Exhale to bend. And let's do 3 more of those. Let's finish with the left knee bent. Take as many steps as you need to bring the right foot in to meet the left. Send the weight back into the heels, press through the feet, release the hands to come up. And exhaling the palms through heart center. Let's pause here again. Find your Tadasana, your mountain pose. Distributing the weight through the feet on those triangles of support. You can even lift the toes to really feel those triangles under the ball of the foot nearest the big toe, ball of the foot nearest the pinky toe, center of the heel. Then you can lower the toes back down. Sometimes that helps to lift the toes to check in, because we can find ourselves really gripping through our toes and our weight being more forward on the foot, when it might feel a little bit better to be more evenly distributed on the foot. I notice it when, and this might not be true for you, but for me, when I lift my toes, it really helps to take some of the strain off my lower back and my bum, because I notice I'm clenching if my weight is shifted forward too much. So it's kind of a fun thing to play with, how something simple and seems subtle, like lifting the toes, can really change the overall balance. And then we'll do one more thing on each side. So let's inhale the arms up, lengthening the spine, little back bend if you choose. Exhale, hands to the hips, hinging forward, releasing the hands to the seat of the chair. Let's take a large step back again with the left foot and bending into the right knee. From here, if you're feeling steady, let's firm up through the legs, releasing the left hand to the left hip, and maybe even the right hand to the right hip as you start to come up a little more vertical. You can always widen your stance side to side instead of feeling like you're more on a tightrope. You could go more like train tracks. And that can help with balance as well. And you always have the option to take yourself closer to the wall. So as you're coming up, you can settle into that right knee maybe a little bit more. Let's turn the left toes out and drop the left heel down. And then you can always readjust your stance here, bending back into the right knee, letting the torso start to turn towards that space between the legs. And adjust how you want your back foot angling out. What feels most natural for your knees, your hips. And then maybe you take your arms out about shoulder height, palms facing down. Your right hand is tracking out in the same direction as your right leg, your left arm behind you. Then you could turn your head to gaze out over the right fingertips. Let's take 3 full breaths here. After your third exhale, let's release the hands back to the hips. Let's turn those lift the left heel first and then turn those left toes to face forward again. Release the hands to the back of the chair. Take as many steps as you need to bring the left foot in to meet the right. And we'll go straight into the other side. So let's take a large step back with the right foot, coming onto the ball of the right foot, bending into the left knee, adjusting your stance front to back as needed. Firm up through the legs. First releasing the right hand to the right hip, then the left hand. As you start to bring yourself slowly more upright, sinking in to that bent left knee, and you might feel that back right knee bending more. And I'm wavering a little bit here, so I'm going to take my stance a bit wider side to side. Let's turn the right toes out, dropping the right heel down. Letting the torso turn to that space between the legs. Bringing the arms out about shoulder height, palms facing down. Left arm tracking out over the left knee, right arm directly behind you. And then turn the gaze out over those left fingertips. Let the shoulders soften down, and let's take 3 full breaths on this side. After your third exhale, whenever it comes, let's lower the arms. Lift the right heel so you can turn the right toes forward towards your chair again. Release the hands to the back of the chair and take as many steps as you need to bring that right foot in to meet the left. Bend through the knees and send the weight back into the heels. Press down through the feet to come up. And exhale the palms through heart center. See if there are any other movements that are calling to you while you're standing before we return to the chair. We're going to do a few seated cat and cows when we return to the chair to get some more movement forward and back in the spine. But see if anything else would be interesting to do some intuitive movement with while you're still standing. Using the chair or not, or maybe using a wall. Whenever you're complete with those movements, let's come back to seated. And bring your extra blanket along with you. I'm going to put my blanket back down that I was sitting on. So if you were sitting on a blanket, maybe you put that back, or if you had a blanket under your feet. Let's keep that extra blanket. We'll just put it across our lap for a couple of minutes. We can take the skin out and back from each hip. Resetting our feet and ankles roughly under the knees or slightly in front. And with our next inhale, let's open the chest and the belly forward. So imagine you're bringing an arch into your back, sliding the hands towards the hip creases, elbows coming back, shoulders back, gaze can come up. On the exhale, sliding the fingertips towards the knees, and then we're rounding the back, tucking the chin. Inhale, lengthen up first, and then slide the hands back, opening the chest, arching the back. Exhale, fingertips towards the knees, rounding the back. Find your own pace here. See if you can let the natural pace of your breath guide the pace of your movement. Let's do one more round here. And then let's go ahead and take our extra blanket, opening it up wide, and then folding it in half the long direction, and then rolling it down. So we're headed towards rolling a scarf shape with the blanket. Might come out something roughly like this, and then you can take that around behind the back of the neck, depending on your preferences and the length of your blanket. If you choose, you can always cross the blanket in front, more like a scarf, and then tuck it under your arms, or you could just straight away tuck it under the arms. You're always welcome to bring your pillow in some sort of way. Now we're looking to set up for some more comfort and ease rather than having the ability to move around in the chair. Adjust the amount of tension that the blanket has on the back of your neck so it's supporting your neck but not pulling down on it too hard forward. Maybe you sit back and use the backrest. You could let the legs relax more and fall away from each other. You can soften the gaze down or close the eyes completely. And let's take a few straw breaths to slow things down. To do that, we'll inhale through the nose. And then on the exhale, imagine you are holding a straw between your lips. And then you're blowing out slowly and completely through that straw. Exhaling all the air out through that straw, really taking your time. After all the air is out, let the next inhale arise naturally. Now, if this type of breathing doesn't feel good for you, let that go. Find your own natural breath, your own natural rhythm. Slowing down the exhale is something that can be down-regulating for the nervous system. Let's do one more straw breath if you're joining me. And then let's let that go. Notice the areas of grounding again. Let's start by feeling sensations in the feet. You can always wiggle the toes or shift the feet in some sort of way if that helps you redirect your attention there. Feel your bum in the chair. And then feel any other areas now that you have some support. It might be behind you or the blanket around your neck and shoulders. Maybe you feel your hands resting on your thighs. There might be some warmth there or feeling of texture of clothes. And check in with how you're feeling. What kind of qualities do you notice about the breath? What do you notice about thoughts and emotions? And are there any shifts from the beginning of the practice when we checked in until now? And can you honor wherever you're at right now? This is how it is right now. Take your own time, and whenever you're ready, invite some small movements back into the body. You could start out at the fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, gradually working your way in towards some larger movements. Whatever feels best right now to wake the body back up. Opening the eyes if they were closed or lifting the gaze. Reorienting to the space around you. If you'd like to join me to close, you can take one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. May I greet my body with gentleness. May I soften when life invites me to harden. May I listen to my intuition with wisdom and trust it with ease. And may I appreciate my body a little more in this moment, just as it is. And then we can bring the hands together in front of the heart. Let's take one breath together. We'll inhale and exhale. Thank you all so much for choosing to share your time and your practice with me today.